Hello, everybody. This is Sandra Pelli Sandini, intuitive inner peace mentor, the dragon ally, and the galactic shaman. I am thrilled to have you here today. If you're watching this on YouTube, I would love it if you subscribed because your subscription to my channel makes a big difference in my world. And this is brought to you today by my book, A Spiritual How To, and it is found on most Amazons. This channel, Step into the Light, Step into Your Life, is a magical experience that a lot of people have in their lives when they decide to show up for themselves. And this is what I'm doing. I'm interviewing people who decide to show up for themselves. Hello, everybody. I am so very, very excited to introduce you to my guests. But let's just take a moment, first of all, to come together in this beautiful sacred space and feel into the energy of ourselves, first of all, and then energetically to each other. So I invite you to take a breath, inviting you to take a couple breaths, actually. Feeling yourself settling into that beautiful energy, asking the mind, body, and soul and all aspects of self to come together and be willing to receive and share, to accept, trust, and believe in the possibilities, stepping into the power of the I am. I am open with no expectations, no limitations, and I am creating the outcome. And given that this is such a beautiful experience of stepping into the light and stepping into your life, I invite you to wrap your arms around yourself, to give yourself a hug, and breathe your way through this next piece as well. I am love. I am loved. I am loving. I am lovable. I love me. I love myself. I am divine love. We are divine love. And so it is. Thank you so much for sharing space and holding space as we breathe our way through that. I am truly very, very excited to introduce you here, Christina. We've known each other now for a little while because we frequent one of the same circles together. And with that in mind, I think I know I could speak for myself when I saw something in you, and it just really sparked an interest of wanting to know more about you, your energy, your love for life, how you exude this beautiful energy as well. So I just want to share a little bit with the audience, though, about your background and just kind of giving you a little bit of hints here. First of all, Christina went on a wild journey from 12 years plus of severe depression and body numbness to a baseline state of joy and connectedness. How? By reuniting with her body wisdom and the transformative power of deep feeling. She was directly initiated as a curandera in the shamanistic tradition of a Peruvian lineage. She was initiated as a song carrier by the Cherokee, Taino, Choctaw, and my apologies if I'm mispronouncing those. I do feel the honor of who's initiated you, though, the medicine woman, and trained by a high priestess in the temple arts for over 8 hours. She's served as a ceremonialist since 2019 and is devoted to inspiring people to connect deeply with their bodies, to unleash their intuitive power and sensuality and joy. Wow, no wonder I felt a strong connection with you. Hi. So
Hello.
pleased to meet you here in this forum, Christina.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having me.
yeah. Truly my pleasure. You want to tell us a little bit of background? I know I kind of um, threw water in people's faces about your background, and that's what this podcast is truly all about. It's that recognition that sometimes we go through some pretty major things. I know myself, I had a number like 16 years of injuries in that, so I could definitely relate to what you've experienced. And then we have this almost like awakening where we come out of that darkness and start to live life a little bit differently. So would you like to share a little bit about that with us first, please?
Yeah. My journey started when I was in that depression cloud for over a decade. I was really deep in academia. I had dreams of being a research professor, and I was in a PhD program on that track. I reached doctoral candidacy, and I realized one day that I was just severely unhappy and empty, and that
Mm,
I wasn't actually doing that for me. I wasn't following that path for me. I was following it because society told me that that is what success is. And my parents weren't even, forcing me to go down that track. They've always been very supportive to my own dreams. So it was almost an extra insult and betrayal to myself because I'm like, wow, my immediate family hasn't even been forcing me into this. I chose this and I've betrayed myself at such a deep level. And when I came to terms with that, it was really scary. There was a lot of fear because I'd been like training for this my whole life to be the research professor. I was valedictorian, I won writing awards, I was a published scientist, like all the things. So I was like, if not this, what in the world do I do? If not this. But
wow.
the emptiness and the gnawing at my heart outweighed the fear. And so I had, luckily, a very gracious principal investigator that's like the boss of the lab. And when I told him I was unhappy, he was like, okay, let's work on getting you complete. So I like to say I dropped out with a master's, and the rest is history. I had this spontaneous awakening moment when I stepped off campus where I was never an intuitive child, I would say. I felt very disconnected from my body. I felt very clumsy. I felt very awkward. I was very in my mind. I loved watching science shows and science documentaries. I was like all about the intellect. I wanted to be a doctor at one point, and for many years, actually. And when I had this spontaneous awakening moment, it was like all the colors. I was sitting with my back against a tree, and I never really interacted with nature much up until that point. But suddenly all the colors brightened, and I could like see this almost magenta matrix like through everything, and I felt the interconnectedness of life. And I remember looking at the stones. I was sober, and I looked at the stones, and the stones were vibrating, and I was like, everything's alive, everything's connected. And I suddenly felt this rush of elation in my heart, even though I was weeping because I was so scared and confused. And I heard this voice inside me, very clear, and it just said, follow what makes your heart sing.
Mm,
And I really took
wow.
that to heart. And from that moment on, I did. I was fully devoted to my bliss and my joy. I started taking pottery classes again and horseback riding and immersing myself in performance art. And my life has just gotten more and more magical ever since. So,
Wow. I heard something that you said that was very profound, and I think that's the whole reason why I started this podcast under this name specifically, especially, and it was that societal norm. This is what I thought society needed me to do or wanted me to do. And what's really interesting about this is two more things. One is currently right now, I'm literally leading my own group through this unlock your potential exercise. And it's like, holy cow, I could just see so much of this in you, in that recognizing, and you had such beautiful tutorage from your boss. Like, wow, I mean, like, how many people get that opportunity? For sure. And the third thing that I really wanted to highlight is wow about the magenta, because I remember walking around. We were camping beside this water reservoir. We're mountain bikers, my husband and I'm walking along, and the sun is setting. I love taking pictures of the setting sun. And as I'm walking back to the vehicle, I'm witnessing these rocks, and it's just like any reservoir, basically anywhere, the pebbles and what have you. And I'm seeing these colors, and they're yellow, and they're turquoise, and this vivid green. And I'm like, what is that? In fact, almost got down on my hands and knees to look closer. Of course, when I got closer, they weren't there, because they're not technically in this realm, right? So I'm just really feeling a kindred spirit to you right now in the recognition of that other realm. And my hair standing up on my arms too. Wow. Wow. I love this so much. So that in part is starting to figure out, and you led us through a beautiful piece of that, of just starting to discover your full power. You stepped into, okay, what does make my heart sing? What does my soul vibrate with, match to? And yeah, um, expand a little bit more on that, because then you went into the shamanism world and everything. And I'm a galactic shaman, and I just I totally get this. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. Yeah, so following that voice, what makes my heart sing, I just tuned into like, okay, what makes me feel this open-heartedness, this elation, this bliss, this expansiveness, this joy. What's my joy? And not fleeting superficial joy. I think a lot of people conflate joy with happiness, and I think joy is much deeper. I think joy is an attribute of the soul, and it's constant. No matter what experience you're having, it's always buzzing there underneath the surface. So that rich, fulfilling bliss, what lights you up, what lights your soul on fire, that's nourishing. It's rejuvenating. You feel more alive, after diving into said action or experience or item or whatever. And so for me, I'm a Taurus sun, so I'm very sensual. I love delighting in the senses. And so I looked at my immediate environment and I was like, houseplants. I need 1,000,000 houseplants. And so I got so many houseplants. And then I started communicating with the plants intuitively.
Yeah.
I didn't know how. It was like one day I was like, wait, they have their own little personalities. And it's like, they're talking to me, not in typical dialogue, but I was sensing like, oh, you want water. Oh, you want to move from that spot to this spot. So that started opening up just that little entryway of like, oh, I notice I feel good around plants. It was like even something that small started opening up my psychic abilities and my ability to commune with like all realms and aspects of creation, not just
Mm.
the human or mankind realm. And I went back into horseback riding, and oh my God, horses are so powerful and potent. I started doing energy work, body work on the horses. By chance, the woman I was training with happened to teach this style called Pirelli that's very much getting on the horse's level and using herd language to communicate. And she would encourage us to just like kind of lay hands on the horses and bring our attention to help them relax their muscles before we engaged with them. And so that was kind of my introduction into almost the Reiki arts. And I did end up eventually becoming Reiki certified. And again, that opened up my world, oh, like energy can flow from the hands. There's this telepathic connection that we can have with other beings, other animals, and I got really immersed in dance. I realized like, oh, I actually remember I grew up really awkward in my body. But now I was noticing like I feel so alive when I'm moving. I mean, you feel the blood pumping and your muscles melting and becoming more flexible. And so I dance in my room at least an hour a day for that like whole first year. And I was going through a bunch of healing through body image. And so I'd like encourage myself to dance naked, to just let everything jiggle without trying to hold it in or make it look a certain way. So I started to sink into self-love and like myself and my body. And I remember looking in the mirror one day when I was dancing ecstatically in my room, and I was like, I love me. And I was 24 years old. I'll always remember I was 24. And it was the first time I really felt like I loved me and like I landed, So those are just a few like instances of how following my joy kind of led to this greater opening.
Wow. Again, I just want to highlight a few moments here. That opening of the rib cage and the shoulders going back. I find that is such a profound movement that if you are in the flow of something, it happens naturally.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you don't even really have to think about it. You'll just suddenly realize that you've opened your rib cage, your shoulders have gone back, and you are that much more in connection with all. I feel like we're so woohoo here. I'm loving this conversation. Also, too, there was another piece of that I just want to hone in on. That beautiful movement, I can feel that, and I think that's what drew me to you as well, is just that natural movement. And I too, like I listened to this one specific YouTube guru at dancing stuff, and I have had a moment just recently. So I'm 60 right now, and literally about 3 months ago, I was in front of my mom's full length bathroom mirrors, getting out of the shower, and I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my gosh, I accept myself fully in this moment. And it was like, I get it, can you could feel that too, right? Like it's just like, wow, wow, yeah, oh my gosh. So when you're, we talked about that full power, the movement in that, and we're human. We're human. It was during that time that I experienced that holy cow, I accept myself fully in that mirror. I was going through one of probably the most difficult periods of my life with regards to my mom and her husband and where they're at uh, in their seniorhood, I guess, for lack of better terms. And that's what I wanted to ask you about. Like you came from this dark space, you came into this beautiful space. You're human though. So what do you do in those moments when you are having a hard time? What advice do you have for others with that?
Yeah. I love this question. I'm getting chills because I think the human part is the most magical part.
Mm.
It's so when we're in our human, we associate that with being in really deep feeling. We may call it challenging or difficult feelings, really, crunchy and it hurts or it's painful. But that is where the gold is, because that is the opportunity where you can choose to dive into and truly be with the purity of the sensation. You can feel, remember I was saying earlier, joy's present in everything. I went through this experience where, by the grace of Source, a female friend handed me the book Women Who Run with the Wolves. It was a very impactful book for me. And there was a chapter on honoring death. And it wasn't just literal death. It was the dark cycles, dark nights of the soul, whatever that means, the difficult moments, leaning into the gunk, and I took that to heart. And this was actually a huge piece of what lifted me out of that depression cloud. Was I decided to lean in rather than disliking it and wanting it to stop and wondering, like, how many more years am I going to feel this anguish and this torment inside? I decided to turn to it and welcome it and dive into it and be like, hey, I'm just going to be here with you. I'm going to be here with you. You feel as long as you want. And it was almost like I imagined myself kind of like cradling into the earth and just burrowing into that dark space. And I was like, I'm just going to be here. And it's difficult to put into words, but when I authentically, with no agenda, surrendered into that deep feeling, I was simultaneously in the heartache and the joy. Like both, it was like there was this rapture of just feeling so deeply, to feel, to sense so deeply itself is euphoric at the deepest level. And to be present, the present moment is always bliss. Even if there's anguish or heartache or difficulty in it, if you get to that seed point, it's perfection. And you feel it at a visceral cellular level. It's an undeniable, it's not a mind intellect. You can't intellectualize yourself into this space. You can only feel yourself into it. So my, invitation to anyone who's going through a difficult time or having some really crunchy feelings come up is just like, lean in and let yourself be cradled in that ocean of feeling and give yourself permission to fall apart. Let yourself like decompose into that space, and that's your freedom. Like there's so much freedom in just like, it's the same motion. It's like you're baring your throat to the divine, like, have your way with me, I'm yours. And there's so much, like, I get chills. I keep getting chills saying it, but it's like, yeah, that to me is heaven. And the access point is through our humanity and our ability to feel so deeply.
I just wanted to take that in for a moment. It brings up a really deep-seated emotion, and I really would like people I want to gently bring this home for people, because go back and listen to this little piece again. In fact, go back and listen to the whole thing again. But this piece was so very, very powerful. I spent all of last year really moving energetically, mentally, humanly into 5D versus 3D. Like I wanted to be 5D. I wanted to experience all this that's out there, right? And I had this beautiful experience with this male counterpart as he brought me in to the lives in between, or the space in between, I believe is what it's called. And it was in that moment that he brought home to me that I am a human experiencing this as well. And I have experienced things so differently now because I've accepted the human part of myself, not just this soul divine energy, but by accepting this, I want to cry right now. By accepting this human self, and you've just said it so eloquently, right? It's acknowledgement. Acknowledge the part that's bothering you, or the event or the feeling. I love your word crunchy. I love that word. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What's coming up for you with my saying this too? Back at you, reflecting back
Yeah,
at you.
what came up for me was I always laugh internally when I hear someone say, I'm only human. We're only human. I'm only human. And whenever I hear that, I'm like, do you know how incredible it is to be human? To be birthed as a divine spark into amnesia, into one of the most densest realms that has ever existed, and to still know and hold the light, and to be drawn like a moth to the flame, no matter how lost in separation or illusion that fire never goes out. You always know at the deepest level there's more, and you find your way home. That's incredible.
Yeah.
What other race, what other galactic race? We're renowned through the galaxy, through the entire cosmos for our humanness. So it's like, I'll be human all day, every day.
Well, and you know what? I love what you said. I love what you exactly. I love what you said because you really brought in that only human. Yeah, we are only human, but wow, what a human, right? And on the other flip side of that, I was bringing in that soul energy, and then finding that balance of accepting both parts of yourself.
Mhm.
Boom, boom, right? It's like what that whole opening song of oh jeepers with Sheldon. There's a TV show with Sheldon on it, and it's the great big galaxies, and they come together and they create the big boom. That's what we're doing. You
Yeah,
know, we're having all these big boom moments, and people aren't even realizing it in some cases, right?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I would even take it a step further, because I love pushing to the edge here, where it's even beyond accepting both parts. What if it's only one? What if it's
Mm.
not spirit and matter? What if it's spiritualized matter? You know, that's like the unity. What if it's an illusion that there's two different things? You know, that's the, what if we could intertwine them and bring them into that coherence and that unity? Because we're divinity incarnate. We're not divinity and incarnate. You know what I mean? They're interlaced. They're one and the same. They're woven together, and they're inextricable.
You know what this is bringing up for me is I made a decision probably back in 2017 that I was not a mortal being. I am immortal.
Mhm.
And that's in essence what you're talking about there as well, right? It's
Mhm.
it's all. It's
Mhm.
everything.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh. I mean, where do you want to go from here? Like, holy Dinah. I know I've got your, I know you, I don't want to really kind of finish the conversation here yet because I think this is really, for those who are ready to hear this, for those who are on the cusp of experiencing life in a different way, for those who are willing to receive and share, just like when I opened this up, I asked for the mind, body, and soul and all aspects of self to really be open to and willing to receive and share this. Um, it There is so much to be experienced and had. And what would be one thing that you would suggest people to do after listening to this recording today?
Hmm. Just in general, or for a specific intention?
How about an intention? I like intentions because in general just kind of leaves it up to whatever. But when we set an
Right.
intention, it just kind of goes that step further. And like I said, I'm talking about unlocking our potential, right?
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
let's set an
Mhm.
intention.
Yeah, I'm hearing just setting a daily intention, whether in the morning or before you go to bed, of may I experience the glory of my humanity. May I experience the glory of my humanity. And just see what that unlocks or shifts for you as you continue going through your day, moving through your day.
I am going to put that here. There's no question mark behind that because it's not a question. It's the dot, 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 which is the continuation, right? May I experience the glory of my humanity. I would love for everybody just to take a moment and say that one more time, please, Christina.
May I experience the glory of my humanity.
Mm. So beautiful.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of what the old spiritual paradigm has been about transcending our humanness. And I think with the return of the divine feminine and the divine masculine coming back online, we're returning to, again, that spiritualized matter. Like the human is the divinity. To be embodied, to be divinity embodied. That's the beauty, that's the miracle. So don't escape your humanness. Dive into it, relish it, cherish it, hold it like a child and kiss its face. You know, the humanness is so yummy if we let it be. It's also heart-wrenching. And again, if you go into that, the joy is right underneath. It's simultaneous to it. And it's hard to describe because it can only be experienced and it's beyond words, but you'll feel yourself open into that deep peace and contentment with exactly what is. Even if what is isn't what you had hoped for or what you'd imagined or expected, if you surrender into what is, there's a lot of deliciousness there, I promise.
Very, very much so. Thank you so much. I've got a website here where you can find Christina. I would love to hear you say your name because you have this beautiful dialect that's not as Canadian A as mine. So please tell us your full name, please,
Yes, my
please.
full name, Christina Della Iacono. That's my Italian side. My father's side is the Della Iacono. So my
Love
mother's
it.
the Peruvian one, so I'm a little hybrid.
Believe me, I can relate. And you have a beautiful gift. Would you like to tell us a little bit about this?
Yes, yes. The gift is called 5 Ways to Ignite Joy in Your Body Anywhere, Anytime. So along the lines of the conversation we've had, there's these really simple techniques and tools that I offer you that you can do literally at any time. Some are more appropriate at other times than others, but you can realistically, for example, always tune into your senses very sharply. You know, pay attention. That's an example of one that's in there. And these are little access points to that joy and that deep peace and that contentment, no matter how crazy life gets, no matter how difficult things seem. I promise if you devote yourself to any or all of these practices, it will unlock more and more of that joy inside you. So that's my gift.
Yay. So hopefully you guys took a screenshot or you wrote this down because Christina is, as you can tell, she's just a beautiful, beautiful soul, beautiful energy. And I am just so thrilled that you accepted my invitation to come talk about stepping into your light, stepping into your life. It's just, it's people like you who are showing us the way, truly. Thank you so
Thank
much for being
you.
here.
Thank you. Thank you.